Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a man with all hands on deck, Jason Hendrickson, an author, producer, singer, and public speaker who is here to talk not only about his music and clothing line, All Things Apparel, but also his iconic crush on a woman who is truly one of the greats, Janet Jackson. Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Jason, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Kendra?
I'm great. I am actually surprised no one in almost 100 shows has chosen Janet Jackson as a crush. I mean, come
Really?
on.
Really?
I know. I haven't even seen Mariah Carey come up, and I think she's one of the also an icon as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're good to be the first. So this crush on Janet, it came about when you were like 11 years old, and I think by that age, most of us have traveled down that crush road already, whether it be a famous person or someone at school. So I assume by then, had you had any like crushes before this?
Not really. Around 11 years old. Yeah, well, there was this one girl named Gwen Rohina. I had a crush on her in middle school, and I think it was 4th or 5th grade. Yeah, and it's actually crazy because my mom and her mom were the president and vice president of the PTA at our school, and that's how our family got close. So that was probably my actual first crush was Gwen Rohina.
Did they ever try to get you two together since they were like
Yeah. We dated. We dated a little bit, if that's what you want to call it. But
as much as you can date in 4th and 5th grade,
right.
Go to the movies with friends.
We brought each other candy and shared sandwiches and stuff like that. So
I mean, that sounds like a great relationship.
Yeah, and we're actually still friends to this day.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. She's a big time attorney and stuff now. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. So it wasn't so much Janet's music at first, but her role on Good Times that initially hooked you. Do you think that her being someone maybe like close to age is what hooked you?
Yeah, and I just loved the sassiness and the way she would do impersonations on Good Times. I forgot the name of the actress, but she would like come up and see me sometime. It was just a little sassy thing she did that was like, oh yeah, she's really
Mae
cute.
West.
Yeah, one of the iconic actresses from Hollywood. She would imitate her. It was either Mae West or Marilyn Monroe, one of the two.
So were you watching this like as it aired or syndication?
Both. Good Times was a regular family gathering in our house. Yeah.
And what other than Penny's sassiness did you kind of gravitate towards?
Just her sense of humor. I loved how spontaneously funny she was, because I was the same way from a young age. She was very quick on her feet, very witty, and a little grown for her age with the things that she would see and her perception on life. And I was really the same exact way.
And I think like during that time, she was like 11 to 13 years old. And I think most of the world still kind of viewed her as the baby sister of the world famous Jackson 5.
Definitely.
And I think that was the case even after she released a couple of albums. She was still really young. But then, then in came Control. And I think that's what made her like the Janet Jackson.
Absolutely.
Today. Do you remember like kind of going from Good Times and like following her music career, being like, oh man, I gotta jump on this too?
Yeah, she did a little spiel on Different Strokes. She had a little run on there, and that's when her first album came out. But then after that, like you said, Control, and that's when it just exploded. And it was like, oh, she is her own person. She is her own artist that's able to hold her own outside of her brothers. And that made me like her even more. I was like, wow, she is amazing. Like, because the musicality of her her expression musically was just outrageous to me. It wasn't that she was like a powerful singer like, a Whitney Houston, but she was overall like a triple threat. She could sing, dance, and she looked good. So what was there not to like? You know what I'm saying?
And she proved that she could act.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I honestly, I grew up watching VH1, religiously to learn about, older music that came before me. And I didn't know she actually had these first couple of albums before Control. VH1 kind of just was Control and then that, and then what followed.
Right.
So I was like, oh, wow, she had more music before then.
Yeah, very interesting.
So you said you had, posters of her all over your walls when you were growing up. Can you recall any favorites?
I mean, there was so many because I used to get this magazine called Right On.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to rip the pictures out of Right On and just plaster my wall with her. So it was just all over the place. Yeah.
Shout out to Right On for having the young black teen idols of our time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember seeing Immature and then B2K on the cover back in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was it like sort of to watch your crush go from this cute, innocent kid to this sort of sexual dynamo?
It was interesting to say the least, and exciting because one of the things that I loved about her is the persona or the presentation that she presented off stage was something completely different when she got on stage. It's like she did a transformation when she got on stage, because off stage she was that soft, gentle, just soft, but on stage she turned into a monster. I was like, yes, Janet, yes, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? And I just like that because I'm the same way as an artist. Off stage I'm pretty calm and I'm a funny guy, but when I get on stage I turn into a whole other person. So I understand how that happens and how that works. So I identify with that.
And on that note, I think Janet's growth felt more natural than pop stars when I think of Britney Spears and Miley Cyrus, who were kind of forced into the sexuality. It felt like Janet was more, no pun intended, in control of her career and her look. Did you find that more appealing as an artist yourself?
Yeah, because I think, as they say, artists, we're sensitive about our stuff, and we don't really like people telling us what to do and how to do it, because there's so much happening on the inside of creatives creatively. And when you get into that space where you're actually able to express it without worrying about people judging you and worrying about people looking at you funny, it's such an amazing space to be in. And to see her, even from the physical changes that she made, she still always looked comfortable within herself. Even though you could tell she had some work done, different things, it was always I'm still Janet. And that's the message that I think that we all need to take from people like that have reached that status, that you should never do anything that makes you uncomfortable with who you are as an individual. Because after all the applause is done, after all the people go home, you have to live with you. And if you're not happy with the decisions, I wouldn't make it.
And yeah, she's gone through some changes, but I think she's one of those celebrities where you see her on the street, you're still gonna know it's Janet Jackson.
Absolutely.
You're gonna be taken aback, oh my god. Can you imagine seeing her out at a grocery store?
I would pass out.
Feels like she has an aura around her, probably.
Yeah, there's this video, right, of her pulling this guy on stage and she's doing this sexual simulation with him. I would have died, Kendra. Oh God. I would have passed out. They would have to use smelling salt to revive me.
I mean, have you ever got to see her live?
No, not live. No, I've seen her. I watch all her concerts, but I've never actually been there in person.
Yeah, because I've seen those clips of her pulling the men on stage, and I'm like, wow. I know Usher has been kind of doing that as his Vegas residency, and Issa Rae from HBO's Insecure got so flustered.
Really?
So, I mean, if it's your crush, you're gonna. I mean, and to
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
like
Absolutely.
yourself loving Janet for so long to be
Yeah,
that guy that gets picked. Whew.
yeah. I wouldn't know what to do. I promise you.
You need one of those defibrillators.
Yes.
Clear.
Clear.
So,
Bring him back.
so, I mean, Janet has and will ever be your crush, and she's, like we've said, she's gone through so many eras in her career. But for you, what's been sort of the most like iconic one where you found her not necessarily the most beautiful, but rather which one have you found the most inspiring?
When she got divorced from Renee, watching the story of what she went through, and just how she persevered through that. Because me being a divorcee myself, I'm very sensitive to that situation and what it does to a person emotionally, mentally, the weight gain, all of the stuff that we saw her go through, and for her to snap back the way she has and to not quit is extremely inspirational, because it goes beyond the outside pulchritude of what a person looks like, but that speaks volumes of her integrity and her character and the stick-to-itiveness that she has as a human being outside of being an artist. Because your marriage and all that is nothing to do with you being an artist. That's the humanistic side of who you are. And for her to go through all that she's went through with the rumors and the loss of siblings and all that, and for her to still be on her A game and still not quitting and still putting out music and inspiring people all over the world is just, speaks so much volumes of who she is as an individual. So that's what inspired me.
I think that also goes to why she is such an icon in music as well. And what do you think from a creative standpoint separates a celebrity from an icon?
Longevity and consistency. Because there's a lot of people that have overnight success that become celebrities and they fizzle out. But an icon is someone that understands destiny and legacy. And I think iconic people like Frank Sinatra, guys like him, whose music is still alive and well and vibrant, and he's been dead for years. That's what makes the difference between an icon and a celebrity. A celebrity have one or two hits. An icon has music that transcends generations. And that's what we've seen with people like LL, Janet, Frank Sinatra, countless others that have been able to transcend and still remain relevant as the world turns and different generations. And now people's grandkids are listening to Janet, loving Janet, that was raised on Janet. So it speaks, to her iconic status.
Yeah,
consistency and longevity. Yeah.
I was telling my husband, I was like, isn't it like, don't you feel lucky that we got to be alive during like Whitney Houston's life and hear her music at the time? Like, we don't have to like go back. I mean, I don't know, in like 100 years, will they think, dang, those people were lucky? They,
It's a blessing to have witnessed such incredible gifts. And, there's a couple of lessons that's tied up in that for me, that life is really short. So you have to really maximize on your gifts and leave something behind that will outlive you. And those are the lessons that I learned from watching, people like Janet, Michael, Whitney, people that have catalogs that will outlive them by almost 100 years. It'll never get old. Yeah.
I think they will be listening to, Nasty and all of the other amazing I always love the one where she is like traveling like all around the world, the video where she's like on the plane dancing.
Yeah.
I always wanted the nose ring that attached to the ear. I thought that was so cool.
That was funky. Yeah, definitely.
I remember being a kid and getting my mom's like bracelets and trying to like adjust. But But I do want to switch gears and talk about food. You're in that realm with like gourmet coffee and whatnot. So, with that, if you had to compare Janet Jackson to a gourmet brew, what kind of flavors do you think she would evoke?
Oh, wow. Definitely a honey roasted. With a little whipped cream.
That sounds delicious.
Oh, yes, it is. It is.
I just started like getting into different types of coffee, so I'm like a cinnamon vanilla right now. Is
Oh, nice.
very good, very
Nice.
good. Shout out Walmart for their store brand. Not as gourmet, but affordable. So,
Wow.
again, Janet is still like a celebrity who catches your eye today, but she really hasn't like released anything new for like several years now. Are you someone who is like anxiously waiting for a comeback, or do you think she's kind of fine just doing her thing, raising her son? Like, she doesn't need a comeback. She's done what she's gonna do.
Yeah, I think her catalog is pretty solidified already, and I just want her to keep touring. You know, if she puts out new music, fine. But one thing I found that once you reach certain levels musically, if you don't turn it off, you start diminishing because you try to fit in with what today's sound is. And when you have reached that iconic stature, I don't think you have to fit in. I think you are the standard. You are the one that people are trying to aspire to be like. And a lot of artists, they get pressured into trying to, like, could you imagine Janet putting out a trap song?
No.
Or, you know, or a drill rap song? I would be like, no, Janet, no.
Makes me think of like Madonna, who maybe should have stopped a while ago.
Yeah. Because it just, and you know, you and I know it only takes one song. You can tour for the rest of your life off a one-hit record, but Janet has several. So she really doesn't need to record anything. I would like to see her, you know, tour and shift into maybe mentoring the younger girls in the industry, because she has a wealth of knowledge and information and experiences that will, you know, be able to possibly make entry or create the entry for the next Janet Jackson, you know? And that's what I don't see enough of in the industry. People just not knowing when to pivot. So I would love to see her do that, because she can always perform her classics, and I'll be screaming like she just put it out yesterday.
Hoping to get that chance to go on stage.
Oh my God, Kendra, you would be so embarrassed. You would be like, oh my God, Jason, what are you doing?
I mean, the Backstreet Boys are like my thing from my childhood, and they had a Vegas residency, and I know what song they're gonna give the roses out, and I'm 35 and I'm still trying to get that rose, so no shame.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, here it comes. I'm like Michael Jordan trying to jump as high as I can.
Wow.
I still haven't got it.
It's gonna happen. We gotta stay optimistic. You're gonna get the flowers, and I'm gonna get on stage with Janet. It's gonna happen.
You have to have those fan moments.
Yes, absolutely.
You mentioned her kind of mentoring. Do you think she would ever do something like The Voice or American Idol?
I don't know, because she appears to be such an introvert. I don't know, but that would be great, because again, she has a wealth of information and so much experience that she could, you know, but it all depends, you know, if she has the mindset like most creators do, that they're determined to die empty, you know, and you don't want to take all that to the grave, because it's proven the graveyard is the wealthiest place on the planet, because you have a lot of people that go to their grave with tricks and wisdom and nuggets that they should have deposited in someone else, but they failed to. So that would be amazing if she did that, though.
Yeah, because I was thinking Janet's not someone who is like overbearing when it comes to social media, and that probably, I think, stems from growing up in the limelight, and her brothers, of course, got like bombarded. But yeah, she seems like a really private person. Do you think that level of like chosen privacy makes her more respectful than other celebrities who are so focused on like content creation over the product?
Yeah, because I think she knows something that we all need to probably learn. Private doesn't mean secret. There's a big difference, and she knows how to compartmentalize what part of her life she wants to be public and what she wants to keep private. And I think that's why she's respected, because there's no one that doesn't have stuff with them. It doesn't matter how amazing you are, how iconic you may be. I'm sure she has stuff with her, but she has learned over the years how to keep that part of her life out of the public eye, more than most people have, and that's why we respect her so much.
I think on that level, I think Beyonce and Taylor Swift are really like following her in her footsteps in that case.
Yeah.
Because they are very strategic in what they show when they show, and I think that will, Beyonce I think's reached icon, but I think Taylor Swift is on her way.
Definitely.
So during the pandemic, I'm sure you got aware of that Versus thing on Instagram. Oh my God, kept me so entertained. And there were always 3 names that were tossed out. There was Mariah Carey, Usher, and Janet Jackson, but no one could ever really pick who would go against these 3 because they were so like who would you put? People were like, Usher and Chris Brown. Like, no way, Usher will sweep the floor with him.
Right.
And Mariah and Janet are comparable, but I don't think like sonically, they're both like icons, but they're not the same type of music. So do you think anyone can match up to Janet in a Versus, or would she have to just like kind of just talk about her own music like a VH1 storyteller?
I would love to see her and Beyonce go at it. I think, that would be something to see. Vocally, I think Beyonce is a much more skilled singer, but catalog, if you're talking about hit for hit, Janet definitely can go 20 songs with her. Performance-wise, Janet can dance with the best of them. So that would be something to see.
And imagine the conversation between Janet and Beyonce. Oh.
Yeah, that would be life-changing.
Beyonce is about to drop her visuals, so she needs some promotion.
Yeah.
Get on it. So,
did I mention that I'm in love with Beyonce too?
Oh, see,
okay.
There you go. Who isn't in love with Beyonce? Even if you're not her biggest fan, you cannot hate on that woman.
Yeah, she is so amazing on every level.
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember like staying. I'm like not the biggest fan, but I was like, I need to stay up and watch this Coachella live stream, and I was just enamored. I was like blown away, crazy.
Yeah, her versatility is just crazy. When I heard her singing opera, I said, "Oh, she's different. She's different."
She
don't gotta like it, but she's different.
She does. She is, I think, of this generation, our icon.
Yeah, definitely. By far.
Before we move on and talk more about you, I'd love to know if 11-year-old you got your wish and wound up with Janet Jackson, what do you think your lives would be like today?
A couple of kids, definitely making music. Just chilling. She seems like someone that likes to relax, take it easy, but handles business at the same time, which is definitely my thing. And I think we would be cool. Definitely making some amazing music, because I would love to write and produce for her.
So would you keep her in like a certain era? Like, as I always think, like you said, I don't like when an artist that is established tries new things, because it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So would you keep her in like the kind of 80s, early 90s Janet? Bring that back?
Yeah, because Bruno Mars proved that sound never dies. He did a whole New Jack Swing album, and I'm like, dude, this is so fire. Because real music stands the test of time. I listen to Frank Sinatra. You're gonna hear me talk about him all the time, because I'm like a big Frank Sinatra fan. James Taylor, people that just find their lane and they stay there. Their music never gets dry to me. The Dixie Chicks, they're not trying to do a Metallica record. They are sticking with what they do, and it just lasts forever. You know what I mean? Because there's something that I like to say was from the heart touches the heart. So if what you're doing is not in your heart, there'll be no real pursuit because there's no real passion. So when you find that thing to do that you're passionate about, you go for it and you nail it every time. And if you don't, you do it again until you do nail it. And I think that's what we've seen with Janet. She got that pop, that feel good, that get up and dance music. So for her to try to do anything else, I think would be a big mistake.
Yeah, it'd be like Madonna. Sorry, Madonna, but
Yeah,
just
yeah,
stop. Just
yeah.
stop.
She tried a little bit of everything. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I think after like 90 something, it was like, oh, I mean, I like the music and the Frozen. That was kind of, the Ray of Light was the last, like,
Yeah,
her
yeah,
experimental. It was good, but kind of moved, just stay there.
yeah.
So, you mentioned passions, which you have a lot of. You have a lot going on. So I want to start with all things apparel.
Yes.
What was the timeline between wanting to start a clothing line and then getting it off the ground running? It seems like a really hard thing.
It was probably like about a couple of months because I didn't know anything about it. So when I started creating t-shirts, I didn't know the different levels of cotton. And all the t-shirts that I created, when people washed them, it would be like a big guy like me, like wears a 1X or 2X. He would wash the t-shirt and it would shrink to like fit a little baby because the cotton was so cheap. And just little things I had to learn before it really got to where it's at now and where it's going. So that was probably the most difficult first couple of months because it was trial and error. The hoodies I was making, they were shrinking, because the quality, or I'm thinking, pricing. And I'm like, okay, if I can get 20 t-shirts at $2 a pop and sell them for $25, I'm killing. But those $2 t-shirts are horrible. You have to get Egyptian cotton. You have to invest, and the greater the quality, you can charge a little bit more because it's going to last and it's going to really be pleasing to the clients that you acquire. But so it took me a couple of months to get it right, and it was a lot of trial and error, a whole lot of it.
And it feels like a brand that is very much aimed at men, but not just that. It's like a line that ignites positivity in men, which I think in today's society is very important. What made you want to lean towards that positive light in your line?
Well, it's not just leaning towards men. It's towards anyone. I think people get that perception because I'm the prominent spokesmodel for it, but we have a whole lot of gear for young ladies, and that's one of the things come the new year. We're going to be flooding our social media with more of the female presence. So it's really just a message behind the clothing that all things, no matter what it is you're going through, it really works out for you in the end, because out of every problem and everything negative that we go through, I think it's our responsibility to find something constructive from it. What is your takeaway from this? Why did you go through this difficult time? What happened? What lesson did you learn? And that's what makes it come into the all things, that I may not like everything, but all things really do work out for me in the end, as long as I stay optimistic and positive, and of course keep God in the forefront of everything that I do. I just believe that it becomes an undeniable win every time.
And on top of the clothing line, you penned a couple of books that are both available on Amazon right now that you dropped back in 2020. Have you been working on any new titles that we'll have to check out soon?
Yes, I'm actually working on my next solo book, because the two books that are available on anthology now, on Amazon now rather, are two anthologies. The Race to the Ring and Why He Married Her and Played Me, which are relational books that give an inside look into the mind of men and how men think relationally. But the next book that I'm putting out is called Destiny is a Decision. And it's just about us getting to a point of making up our mind and developing laser focus for the next goal that we want to achieve. And so it's like a how-to type of book, what I've done to achieve the success that I've had in my life, and opening businesses and multiple businesses, and getting music out, and especially in this new climate of streaming, it's a whole nother ball game now. From when I first started, when I was selling CDs out the trunk of my car, making fist over, making money like it was crazy. But you just have to figure it out, because again, every problem has a bag attached to it, has money attached to it. You just got to figure out the solution, and when you do that, you get paid.
Well, speaking of streaming, your latest single, Another Chance, dropped in July.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to music, are you working on a new album? Are you taking the single release route? That's pretty common right now, today's artists.
The album is actually done. We just wrapped it up a couple of days ago, and I may go back in because people are always sending me music. I'm always writing the music, and I'm just like, I think I want to put that on. I want to put this. So I may go back and record one more song to put on the album, but we actually have 12 songs done. The name of the album is Reset, and it kind of goes back to when I was a kid. My first gaming system that I actually owned, that I didn't have to share with my siblings, was the Nintendo console, the very first one, where you had to blow on the cartridges, and that one. And they gave you a free game. It was 2 free games that you got with that: Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And Mario Brothers was my favorite game. And the object of that game was to go through different phases of life. And your assignment on the game was to rescue the princess who was in bondage on the 8th board by a dragon. And Nintendo was smart enough to know to get people to fall in love with the game. Along the journey in the lives of Mario and Luigi, you were going to die. You're going to get defeated by the ghost and different enemies that you had to face. But Nintendo put this button on the console called Reset. And if you hit Reset, it put you right back where you were. It gave you an opportunity to have all your strength, your firepower. You could get big again by jumping on the flower. All the great stuff that we loved about it. And you just kept hitting reset until you actually rescued the princess. So that's kind of what the idea behind this album is, because I'm putting it out after COVID, and I lost so many people, Kendra. I stopped counting at about 45 people.
Oh, sorry to hear that. That's a lot.
Yeah. A lot of people I know passed away from that. And, it kind of flatlined everything, my businesses, everything. And I was like, man, what are we going to do now? And that's when the idea of reset came. Like, okay, you're still here. You lost them. That pain is real. The hurt that the families are going through is real. But you're still here. What are you going to do? I got to reset. I got to start again. I got to get back into it. I got to start writing again. I got to start making music. I got to start designing more clothes, because I wasn't doing anything, because I just went into depression. I was like, man, especially when one of my best friends, a guy named Zebedee, passed away. That thing crushed me. It was I was like, I give up, man. I can't do this no more. This is too much. But I found the strength, through my spirituality to get back in it, and we got the album done, and I think it's going to really bless a lot of people, and people are going to really enjoy this music.
You said you wanted to go back into it, but when do you expect to drop Reset?
January. Oh yeah, January. We ready to go. Artwork is done. Everything is done. Only thing that can push us back is if I do this other song, but I still got a little bit of time where I can get it done and still have it out by January. So, we're going to see.
Yeah, I think you could. If you worked really hard this month, till January. And you mentioned your faith, and it's something that's important to you, and we've heard it in many of your releases. But how do you feel gospel music and just religious music in general has changed from, we'll say, the time of good times to now?
I think gospel, if you want me to be totally honest with you, in some cases have lost their identity for trying to be like other genres. When I was growing up, gospel had a sound that when you heard it, it just made you feel uplifted. It made you feel powerful. A lot of gospel, or what they're calling gospel music now, you sometimes can't identify if it's gospel, because it sounds like trap, it sounds like hip hop, it sounds like, other genres. but it wasn't like that. So there's been a drastic change because, again, people are trying to stay relevant and trying to stay alive. And, I just believe that when you have found your sound, if you stay in your lane and stay consistent, we have too many people that have proven that to us. James Taylor never changes what he does. Never. He's just in that vein. Frank Sinatra never changed what he did. So we just have to really get back to it, because everybody, whether they know it or not, is in search of something. I may call it God, people may call it higher power, but we all have a desire within us to look for something that's bigger than us. And I think gospel music is one of the quickest ways to connect people to their faith. And the message of gospel music always provides hope. And if the music that they're labeling gospel doesn't give you hope, then to me it's not gospel.
Gotcha. And to just give us a full circle moment, if you could collaborate with Janet on any of her songs and sort of like redo it for 2023, maybe put it on reset, which song would that be and why?
Anytime, any place.
Wow, you had that ready to go.
Yes. Because musically, I think is one of her more calming songs. And then the message, I'm such a relational person. And I think that intimacy is more than sexuality. It's about you getting to that place where, that message in that song is, I'm so connected to you that, this can just pop off at any time, any place, because nothing else, no one else matters. It's me and you against the world. And that's the goal for being in relationships. You don't want to be in a relationship with someone that's embarrassed to be with you. And that song is like, I'm proud of you. I love you. We could be in a restaurant. I want everybody to know that this is mine. And, I would love to do that song with her.
Well, dang. I mean, it sounds like you've already done it in your head.
I have several times.
and lastly, where can people find you online and all your things, the books?
I am on every social media platform. Jason Hendrickson. Twitter is at Jaehen, Jaehen. Instagram, Jason Hendrickson. Facebook, Jason Hendrickson. All you gotta do is Google me. I'm on Amazon, anywhere digital music is sold. My clothing line can be found on our website at www.329allthingsapparel.com. I had a brain freeze right there.
You were thinking about Janet putting you on stage. It's okay.
Yes, I was definitely thinking about that. And my website is jaehen.com, www.jaehen.com. And all of those will link you to something that will link you to something else. So I'm everywhere. All you gotta do is just look.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your iconic crush.
Thank you for having me, Kendra. I really appreciate this. This is so cool.
And everyone, you can find all of Jason's information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it.